welcome. This is getting your homeschool year off to a great start workshop day. I am very excited about it. I am happy to be here. I am incredibly exhausted. I've been putting in 70, 80-hour weeks for the past few weeks here for you all, trying to get everything ready. And I'm really tired. Once I get past today, I plan to take the rest of the evening and tomorrow and Monday completely off. I'm just taking the next 2.5 days off for some just much needed breathe. And Tuesday I will not be much interacting with you all either. I will answer emails, but other than that, I'm not doing client appointments on Tuesday. I've got some other personal refreshment things going on and classwork I'm doing. Wednesday, the next step after today that I will provide you is Wednesday morning. I believe I've scheduled from 9 to noon. I sent an email out about this a day or two ago. Program overviews of a lot of the programs. I'm going to give you a brief, there'll be some of that incorporated in today, but I'm going to be spending more like 15, 20 minutes helping you orient each of the programs. The ones that most people are using, I'm going to do on Wednesday next week on the 26th. And again, any time I mention is always a central time zone. You're going to have to translate. If you need help figuring out the translation, let me know. But basically, Eastern, you are 1 hour later than any time I say. Pacific, you are 2 hours before any time I say. And Italy, you're going to have to figure it out. And Mountain Time Zone, you definitely need, and my Arizona clients, you need to figure that out because I know your schedule's weird. But I will be mentioning Central. So Wednesday, I will spend the morning doing program overviews of the core reading language arts programs the vast majority of you are using. And then on Monday, August 31st, I will spend much of the morning going over some additional programs, specifically Reading Plus and Fast Forward, that we're not going to have access to until the 31st, as well as any programs that are connected to your group classes. So if you're doing anything with a group class with us, Monday the 31st, which is our first day of class, we will be doing an orientation day on all those. So the Monday the 31st, those are intended that the students are participating for any of the group class orientations. The others are all more parent oriented. If you can't make the times, I will be recording everything, so don't worry about that. So I will be recording all of it and getting links out to you. If you've registered for this, you will get the links for everything from today. You will get all of that in the replay this evening. That will happen automatically without me doing anything about it, which is awesome. Woohoo! I'm learning to use automated tools to make my life easier. So what I had been starting to introduce before I realized I wasn't broadcasting yet, was I was just overviewing who our staff team are. I am your full-time person, founder, coordinator. I'm the one who owns the company, so if anybody has to put in long hours, it would be me. The other presenter you see on right now is Ms. Becky. Mrs. Becky is new to our staff this year. She's going to be working about 5 hours a week for me, and she will be doing all of the monitoring, the back-end monitoring on all of your independent study, reading, language arts type programs. So she will be keeping an eye on all that. She is an education person, has experience in the classroom as well as tutoring, and she also did her reading certification. She has higher level actual official training than I do. Which, I mean, I've done lots of graduate courses and things, but none of it's actually gone into a program that anybody gives me credit for. But, I should have an honorary master's degree by now with everything I've done. But, but you guys don't particularly care about that because that's not why you're with Wings to Soar. You're with Wings to Soar because we do things differently. And doing things differently means sometimes the system doesn't actually recognize what you do and how you do it. And that's why I work outside the system. Anything you want to say about yourself, Mrs. Becky, before I move on?
No, I think you pretty well covered it. That was very good, except for the fact that I'm very new at computer technology. Fortunately, I have my 13-year-old son who is very helpful. And so that I just ask for patience with my dealing with the technological end of things, because I feel very much like a pre-primer when it comes to computers.
All right, so Ms. Becky will not be your tech support. However, her son, when you have a teen tech support person, your teen tech support, if you have a teen tech support appointment, that is with her son Samuel. Yes, he is 13. However, he is new to supporting us as well, but he's done a great job already with a few clients he's worked with. And he's also being told to, any of my staff, if you don't know the answer, they contact me, and I am learning that I need to take the time to train my staff and mentor them into knowing how to do things more effectively, rather than me just taking over and doing it all. So in the early part of the year, when Ms. Becky's looking at her reports, or you send her a question, something like that, if she doesn't know the answer, she's going to carbon copy it to me and send it to me, and I will respond. And I will CC her on the response so she learns, and she's going to be building up a frequently asked questions responses list that she can then use to support you all. And we're going to start putting together files of those as well as the year goes on, as we build up more frequently asked questions. So we will be building more and more of the support tools. I've done this too long with too much of me. Last year was the first year I had other teachers working with me, and I am learning to more effectively delegate. So Ms. Becky's on the team, and so all of those reading and language arts things, and so we've got a lot of you doing dyslexia intervention. That's a large part of what people are enrolled in with us, is some of those independent programs. If you are doing math with a math coaching option, if you've got the coaching support package, that will be with Miss Erin. Miss Erin is out in Southern California. I loved the interaction I saw with her when I was at a conference last summer out there, and I loved how I saw her interacting with her clients at the booth across the aisle from me, and I said, I need her working on my team. And so, because she does a great job with the kids with math and just really engaging with them and helping them make math fun. She created a program called Smart Apply to help with math fact learning. She also has a bunch of about 50 different videos that she's created about helping with different concepts that if kids are having trouble with. If you're involved in the math coaching support package, you also get access to her homework lounge resources, which include all those videos in the Smart Apply. So if that's a part of your package, that's another piece that you have access to. So that we miss Erin. She will not be on with us today. Sarah is my best friend from high school, and she is my administrative assistant in the background that you will probably never see her, and you will probably never know you're interacting with her because sometimes she answers questions for me in my email and things like that. She's very part-time with me, but she does some of that administrative work behind the scenes. Anything happening in Spelling Vocabulary City, pretty much guarantee Sarah's the one taking care of it. So I'm very blessed that I have my best friend working with me. And then my other best friend, who was my mentor back in high school. There were only 2 teens in the church, and she took me under her wing, and her husband took the young man under his wing. And so we didn't have a youth group, but they took us on, mentored us. And so when I was a freshman, Mrs. Greaves, Shannon, was in her student teaching, and I was in awe of her because I wanted to be a teacher, and I was a freshman in high school, and just as she was developing cool units, and I'd go hang out at her house and I'd see the things she was doing. I was like, wow, if I could be a teacher like her someday. That'd be so cool. Well, now 26 years later, last year was her first year working with me. So 25 years later, she's working with me. Her son's in his 7th year of school with me. 7th? Maybe not. Let's see. He'll be in his 6th year. He was with me in my last year of the physical school that I ran, which I'll mention later. And he's been with us our 5th year in the online school, and he's been with us all of those years. Her older son, who's a junior in college now, was with me for 8th and 9th grade back at the physical school as well. So Mrs. Greaves will be on this afternoon starting at about 12:45. She will actually be leading the session on the scheduling and accountability tools this afternoon. If you are doing student success coaching, or you're doing writing coaching, or the literature and composition classes, she is your person. Everybody else is very part-time with me. Mrs. Greaves is getting to be pretty close to full-time. Not quite at this point, but she's doing a lot of hours with us. And she and I had a wonderful planning retreat last weekend where we mapped out integration with the literature and composition, with my Becoming the Me I Want to Be class, and with my World Geography class, with my Integrated Liberal Studies class. So if you your kids are in any of those classes, she and I are going to be closely working together on that. Ms. Becky will be occasionally subbing for my high school Earth and Space Science class when I need to be out of town. There's a few days that's happening this fall. And Mrs. Greaves, which to parents, she can be Shannon. She doesn't mind parents calling her Shannon. She does prefer the kids calling her Mrs. Greaves. Mrs. Greaves will be subbing for me a number of times this fall. I've got 5 different training conferences for me to grow my skills as a business person between September 19th and early December. So as I'm out to those, she will be subbing, and because we're working together on the literature and composition, she'll be very integrated with that. But I want you to know a little bit about how we got to where we are and why I do some of the things I do the way I do them. And so that would be where I'm going to start, and then we will go into some other, I will have woven a few of the key principles that I do into that, but then I will share a few other key principles of homeschooling for outside-the-box learning, things I want to make sure every parent I ever talk to works with. If you talk to me at a convention, you probably already heard many of them because you will hear them over and over from me. So I used to start my story about my journey to the founding of Wings to Soar Online Academy and our work helping dyslexics and other outside-the-box learners gain the confidence and skills they need to not just survive, but thrive in school and in life. I used to start that story with the philosophy of education paper that we were assigned in my first school of education class at the University of Wisconsin-Madison back in 1993, 94, or something like that. And I realized when I wrote that philosophy of education paper, I was going to have to start a school someday in order to do education the way I believe it needs to be done. But more recently, I've come to realize that my story really begins in my teen years, and some of the experiences during those years have led me to my passion for helping young people to develop not just their academic skills, but their whole person well-being. More specifically, it begins on my parents' 20th wedding anniversary. The smell of lemon dish soap threatens to overwhelm the spaghetti sauce smell from dinner. I come up beside Mom, where she's sitting in her usual spot at the kitchen table, working on a crossword puzzle, and wish her a happy anniversary. Her response of, "What?" confirms what has now become painfully obvious, that their marriage had become one of practicality in raising me, not a relationship to be celebrated. And this begins my downward spiral into depression. And since the unwritten rule in my household is that you don't talk about emotions, I internalize all of the uncertainty and self-loathing. I've already decided that it isn't safe to share anything that's truly important to be with my mom, because she'll shoot holes in it, showing me all the reasons it won't work. Of course, she's only doing so to protect me. And that negativity, though, feeds into my despair, not my dreams. Now, Daddy, on the other hand, just understands that I'm a verbal processor and I need to talk things out to figure out what I'm thinking. So when I do venture to share my dreams, it's with Daddy, who to this day serves as a sounding board for me when I need to process. To my parents, people at church, my teachers, anyone, especially any adult whose opinion of me actually matters in my everyday life, I look like I have it all together. I'm a good student. Well, okay, so I'm an overachiever. I'm student council vice president, honor society president, Bible study leader, student youth leader, mission director for my church, on the worship team. I've got a 4.0 and I'm on my way to being valedictorian. And I'm assistant directing and acting in my high school's musical, The Grateful Cafe, that my best friend co-wrote. I keep up the facade that everything's fine and I have it all together. But at the end of the day, I'm making sure I have the tears wiped from my face as I get to that second to last house before rounding the second from the last corner before I get home, as usual. Can't actually show the emptiness, the sadness, the anxiety, the depression, or let on that thoughts of suicide have been running through my head a lot recently. So I put on a happy face as I walk in the door, get past my parents, and use busyness and exhaustion as an excuse to head into my room and close the door. Turn on my music, and it doesn't take long before I'm quietly sobbing as the thoughts of overdosing on pain meds begin to overwhelm me. Since I don't really want to die, I call my best friend Sarah, who tries to get me to calm down enough so she can understand me, and does her best to make sure I'm not really about to take my life, and makes me promise I'll see her in the morning. In the morning, Sarah hands me a few pieces of paper with the frizzies from a spiral notebook torn paper. She had written a story for me that goes back and forth between two girls at a high school, to a far-off tribe watching an eagle soaring overhead, waiting for its message. Overdose. But the message will never come, because the eagle was found dead this morning. I hate the frizzies on spiral torn paper, by the way, but I still have that frizzy edge paper 23 years later, because I didn't actually overdose on pain meds. That story that Sarah wrote for me in her teenage willingness to be used by God to help her struggling friend changed my life. And so while I continue to battle depression, I know that I have a message that I'm meant to share, and I can't let myself succumb to that depression. When I write that philosophy of education paper, my sophomore year of college, I say to myself, I'm going to have to start a school someday to do education the way I think it needs to be done. And what I'm learning in the School of Education, what I'm seeing in the public schools, isn't working for all the kids. That's not okay with me. I asked one teacher what I can do to help 4 particular learners who've been failing every test. Her response is, some of them just aren't going to make it. Internally, I scream, not on my watch. If I can coax a student to even try, no student that I have the opportunity to impact is going to be allowed to just not make it. Even during my student teaching, I have a passion for the outside-the-box learner who just isn't making it in the traditional classroom. I see a few struggling students sitting at the back of the room working on math computation packets because they can't keep up with the language-intensive math program. So I ask if I can take them down to the library to help them. Now, I have no curriculum other than the language-intensive curriculum that isn't working, and no experience, mind you. But what I do know is that what they are currently doing is not okay with me. So I begin the pattern that will continue for the rest of my life of doing what I can to tweak a broken system and making a difference where I am. After my student teaching, I teach 7th and 8th grade for 2 years in a private progressive school. Pretty good match for my philosophy education. That allows me to test out some of my outside the traditional education box ideas. Then, in my infinite 24-year-old wisdom, I decided to give up my job in order to gain broader experience to help me move toward my goal of starting a school someday. Over the next 3 years, I apply for every teaching position I'm qualified for within an hour's drive of my apartment. Now, Job Search 101 was about resumes, applications, interviewing skills. But I come to the conclusion that God's curriculum for me in Job Search 102 is about trust in my divine placement agent. And he closes door after door after door, where I would be a very good candidate. Now, looking back, I know that I would have done a very good job in several of those positions. Probably still be there, and I'd be quite happy, making a difference for the 25 or so kids who came through my class that year. A handful of those kids in particular would have benefited from my passion for their outside-the-box learning needs each year. But my message was meant for a different audience. So, when you wanted to teach since you were in 2nd grade, and you no longer have a classroom to teach in, because in your infinite 24-year-old wisdom you gave it up, what do? Well, you tutor. And who do you tutor? You tutor struggling learners. Since school had come so easily to me, I needed experience with working with many, many individuals who faced a variety of challenges to gain the passion that I've developed for the struggling learner. From 2003 to 2011, I served between 3 and 13 kids each year in an in-person brick-and-mortar school in Madison, Wisconsin, in a very homeschool style program. I created this program. It was my first attempt at that school. I didn't set out to start the school, by the way. It evolved and happened. So, as I'm serving those 3 to 13 kids each year, and that was called Hope Academy back then, I'm consistently getting 1.5 to 3 year gains with each of the students who will actually do the plan I assign to them. Well, okay, most of the time, do what I assign. They are teens after all. My passion is for helping dyslexics, other outside-the-box learners, break through their learning challenges and become the best versions of themselves. Over the 8 years of the physical brick-and-mortar school, I'm serving increasingly greater learning, emotional, and psychological needs. As each new student brings their own set of challenges, I continue to learn how to best meet their needs. Between the courses, professional reading, and hard-won experience, I should have an honorary master's degree by now. Maybe someday I'll find a university that will allow me to create a customized master's degree out of my patchwork of training. You know, I seem to learn outside the traditional box of someone else's program, just like my students. It's a wonder I did so well in my very traditional school in my K-12 years. Well, in one particular year, in the 10 teenage lives represented, we had dyslexia, other unspecified learning challenges, reactive attachment disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. Oh, by the way, reactive attachment disorder is ×2, by the way, which is much more intense than ×1. Depression, anxiety, anorexia, 3 rape victims, and Asperger's represented in those 10 students. So, dealing with high emotional psychological needs is nothing new to me. But by March of 2011, when I physically restrained a 12-year-old from trying to hurt himself 3 times in 2 months, I am starting to seriously become burned out. And my wonderful, nearly full-time assistant, Natalie, has helped me bear the load, and she's run after my runners numerous times. But the current year's group of 4 11 to 13-year-olds' psychological needs seem to be spiraling out of control. And even the spring break I've been hanging on to until reaching doesn't seem to have its typical reset effect. By April 2011, I'm sinking into another bout of major depression. I know what to do about it this time around, but still, even though we've only had 4 students this year, it's been the toughest caseload I've ever had. My passion for the struggling learner. Yeah, I want to help them with their learning needs in the context of their whole person needs. But I'm just not equipped to deal with that level of psychological needs. By May, we go into survival mode to get us all through to the end of the year, with shortened days. And since it seems that all they are practicing is their dysfunction at that point, canceling summer school seems to be the best option. I do some deep soul searching on a 5-day personal retreat the first week of June in 2011. And I realized that I've had families in over a dozen cities as I've spoken and consulted at homeschool conventions around the country saying, I wish your school were here. And I begin to wonder, perhaps it could be if I shifted online. Why couldn't I do what I do best? Creating personalized learning plans for each student, backing down to their just right level, bumping up the time and intensity by coming at the challenge from multiple angles, numerous doable bite-sized chunks. Why couldn't I do this online and help a lot more outside-the-box learners? And so I closed the door on Hope Academy and opened the door to Wings to Soar Online Academy in 2011. The first year, small beta test group with 5 online students, one of whom, Mrs. Greaves' son, continuing from the physical school. I teach and tutor about 8 hours that week, 8 hours per week that year. That first year is mostly a much-needed sabbatical year for me. For the first time in my life, I've not had my plate filled to the brim. I don't need to be on full-time to serve others as I have in the past few years. I've kept myself so busy for so long, being an overachiever, helping everyone else, that I've not taken the time to address some much-needed deep inner work and healing. Now that I've finally slowed down and taken the time to do my own inner work and be better able to manage my anxiety and depression, by the next year, the second year in the online school, with so much of my healing work behind me, I'm ready to expand or beta test the online school to 15 students. Become my guinea pigs as I try out dozens of online programs that seem promising. I have a curriculum consulting contract with a public charter school in our state to finally get paid for my expertise. So the expertise I developed in curriculum choices for reading and language arts, advising them on quality print and online curriculum available for their homeschool, online style charter school. So I finally get to be paid for the expertise and curriculum choices I developed as I had evaluated thousands of homeschool titles over the past 10 years for my dad's homeschool education store, Cornerstone Learning Connections. And it helped him narrow down his inventory to the best print materials available. Now with this curriculum contract, I had the opportunity to evaluate 120 online programs with a ready test group of 15 students and make my recommendations for the best online options for my contract project, and to incorporate the best of these into Wings to Soar Online Academy. So that spring at the homeschool conventions, I put out my shingle officially with Wings to Soar Online Academy on the booth alongside my dad's Cornerstone Learning Connection sign. I hear him tell a customer that, the best print resources I've carried for years doesn't touch the quality of some of the online programs my daughter's offering. Now, I do point out there's still some quality print materials that for some situations are still the best option for a particular student. But for many curricular areas and for many students, he's right. It's hard to beat quality online programs that are personalized and adaptive in nature, where the student's response guides the feedback and instruction they receive from the computer, especially in skill-based subject areas like reading, language arts, and math. As I told you earlier, my approach has always been to personalize instruction, backing down to a child's just right level in each skill area, and bumping up the time and intensity by coming at the challenge with short practice sessions using different programs. But the 25 to 30 online programs that I've narrowed down to as the best options that I know of at this time allow me to do this on a much more fine-tuned level. I get to use my in-depth knowledge of the programs and the many different outside-the-box learning needs to create that custom Path to Success learning plan for each student, based on what I learn through an in-depth consultation with the parent about their child's needs, which most of you have had that consultation with me. Many of the programs in their custom Path to Success start with diagnostic placement assessments to find their just right level in phonics or reading, vocabulary, language, math. And once the child gets going, the computer programs do all the work, well, most of the work, of making the fine-tuned adjustments, click by click, keeping track of the child's progress. And my teachers and I serve as coaches to make the course corrections along the way. It is so much more fulfilling to be spending my time doing what I do best, connecting people with the right resources, creating curriculum, and facilitating discussions with the middle and high school group class kids, than what had come to feel like a high-stress babysitting job in that final year of the physical school. I'm looking forward to teaching world geography and cultures, and both a middle school and a high school section of Earth and Space Science classes this fall. I especially enjoy teaching my integrated liberal studies courses that I've designed, where I get to use history as the core and weave all the other aspects of social studies like archaeology, geography, religions, philosophy, government, economics, and more around it. I also weave in art and music appreciation and a full literature and composition course for the kids. I love helping the kids make connections between all these areas that are far too often taught in isolation or not taught at all. The course I'm most excited about teaching this fall is my Becoming the Me I Want to Be course. This is the course that I wish I had had to help me learn the soft skills of life in my teen years, starting with the practicalities of things like time and stress management, finding balance, and exploring questions like, who am I? Who do I want to become? What's important to me? What's my vision for my future? How do I set goals, create a plan to achieve them, and follow through on that plan? How do I embrace the full range of my emotions and not just paste on a happy face, no matter what? How can I more effectively communicate with others and learn to listen with empathy and seek win-win solutions? What does it mean to be a leader or work effectively as a part of a team? How do I become the best me I can be and develop the full range of character strengths within myself? What habits of mind and life principles would help me be most successful in life? I can only imagine how my life would have been different if someone had walked me through learning about these areas back when I was a teen. Of course, it still takes a lifetime to internalize all these skills. But if someone had strategically introduced me to these skills when I was 13, I would have entered high school with some tools and strategies to help me find balance, known that it was okay to feel the full range of emotions, and how to talk with someone to support me when those emotions seemed overwhelming. I would have felt like I had a bit more of a plan to guide me through this process of becoming through those teen years. You know, I wonder how much better those teens I had back in the brick and mortar school would have done with coping if I had strategically taught them these soft skills to address their whole person well-being needs. Well, while I can't go back and change that for myself or my former students, I'm passionate about guiding teens through becoming the me I want to be. And you'll hear that some of those same themes are some of the themes we're starting to address today in these parent empowerment workshops. We'll be continuing with using tracking data for those of you who want to continue with that in the September workshop. In October, for those of you who are doing any group classes with us, dyslexia intensive or success coaching, or if you choose to just purchase the workshop separately, we will be doing a Finding Balance 2-hour workshop. November, I'll be doing a Managing Stress, and then we'll be doing another Taking Stock workshop in December to reconfigure and reset for what needs to change for the second semester. So I'm building in this. So we've past couple of years, we've gotten figured out the curricular side of Wings to Soar. And now I'm working on really building this other aspect, the becoming the me I want to be, the parent empowerment to give you guys the skills to equip your kids better, to equip yourselves better, because most of us never were taught most of these skills. And so I'm pulling out of the lessons that I'm weaving into the becoming the me I want to be and seeing which of them do I think are the most important to offer for you guys to support you as being the best homeschooling parents you can be. So that's where we're at, and that's kind of what sets up today. That sets up who we are as a school, why I do things the way I do it, and why we're doing these parent trainings. So that's the background, that's the backstory. Share a few slides with you about a few of the key philosophy things. You're welcome, Heather. Heather thanks me for trusting us with their story, and she says she loves the vision. I think you need to know what makes me who I am, and you need to know what makes us tick. I think that's important because we're not just about throwing curriculum at you, and we're about so much more. So, Wings to Soar Online Academy presents Getting Your Homeschool Year Off to a Great Start. I am Beth Ellen Nash. You just heard my story. I am the Intervention and Individualization Specialist and a few other hats with Wings to Soar. So you may be coming to today and you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. That's why I created this series of parent empowerment workshops for you to help you get clear on some things today, and then the orientation sessions on Wednesday next week and Monday the following week. That's why I'm doing this. We are here to support you. We'll work with you. Please don't feel like you're a bother if you're emailing questions. Email away. I will get to you as soon as I can. I am telling you, I will be pretty much not doing much with it between now and Tuesday. I will check in on Monday and Tuesday some, because I know some of you are just getting started with classes Monday, Tuesday. I'm going to send you a link to my teen tech support. So it's any more technical things of how to get into programs and things like that. If you're still having trouble, we can help you with. And then on Wednesday, when we do the program overviews, you'll have had a chance to try out the programs, and you'll know a little bit about it, and I can teach you how to use them more effectively. So we are here at Wings to Soar. We've got our staff behind you to help guide you, provide a little bit of a compass, and help you not feel like you're doing this so alone. Now, some of you are doing full curriculum with us. Some of you are doing most of what you're doing. Some are just doing a dyslexia intervention plan. Others are just doing a couple programs with us to supplement what else you're doing. Whatever level you're involved, we're here to support you. If you're involved with us at kind of like a $997 commitment or above, you have access to all of the trainings that I'm offering this fall included in your package. So if you're at that level, or if you've invested in student success coaching, we have a few spots open still. Mrs. Greaves and I just went through yesterday to try to finalize what do we have open, and we have a few left. If that's something you want to add, any of our student success coaching clients also have the full parent support resources. All of you have the resources getting you launching the school year today, Wednesday, and Monday. The following follow-up workshops can be available for you guys. It will be $27 per workshop if you aren't enrolled at that higher level with us. To the public, it'll be $47 per workshop. So as enrolled students, you do get a discount, but if you've invested with us at like a $997 level or above, we're providing all those for you just as a part of your support package. But all of you have access to email support questions. Google Chat, typing in your chat message is also a good way to get support from Mrs. Greaves and I. We are both on our computers a lot, and I can often do a quick response to you on something on Google Chat, even when I'm in the midst of something else. I can quick get something out to you there. So those are your best ways. And your Google Chat and your email, I'm able to get, even if I'm at a conference, I can quick see something between sessions and get a response out to you frequently. So that's your best way. And I will be setting hours that you can set appointments with me, as opposed to just having open office hours this year. There may be sometimes I'll do like a live Q&A where I'll just set up something like this and we'll have you be able to come on and just ask me questions. And so kind of a group open office hours kind of scenario. But in the general, I'm going to not have just blanket open office hours this year, because I've got an awful lot of people scheduled for a lot of specific times. So, but we will be available, and you'll be able to schedule an appointment on my scheduling calendar during open hours if you're available, if you need that. So, overview of today. We're starting with this homeschooling for outside the box learning, some basic core background information. We're then going to move into, one second, taking stock of what's working and what's not in your plan. I'm going to guide you through a matrix that I sent out this morning. I just finished it between 7 and 8 this morning, of laying out all the different skill areas you need to consider for your homeschool and all of our programs, and which of those are addressed at what level. And the levels are their functional levels, not their chronological level. And then want you to also think in terms of, if you're not using those, what are you using to address those skills if your kids are at the level they need those skills? So I'm going to guide you through that, as well as just taking stock a little bit just on the bigger picture of how are we doing on the plan for a more balance across your life, because if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. So we got to make sure mom's taken care of. Then I'm going to go into teaching all kinds of learners, which we're going to work through curriculum profile together, or a student profile together, and I'm going to talk with you about some of the different aspects of what you need to think about your different kinds of learners. Then we're going to move into creating your vision and your purpose statements, and really thinking in terms, I'm going to start you with, yes, we want to know what your vision and purpose statement is for your homeschool, but I want you to actually take time as mom to think about what your bigger vision is and what you want in the midst of the fact that you're busy homeschooling. Is that all, or is there more that needs to be considered? Because I want to help you think about whole person balance as well. Then we're going to work into setting SMART goals. I'll teach you what those are. We're going to set specific goals for your year and specific goals for, and whatever it is that you're looking for, we're going to learn about. I'm going to encourage you to take one in particular that we're going to go through the process on setting SMART goals with. Then we're going to have that session with Mrs. Greaves. We're going to work on learning about a couple different strategies for creating your schedule. There's also some handouts she'll use from that. Then you need to get started with your programs, or you already have. You need to do. So we're gonna be using this plan, do, check, act procedure over the course of the year, and helping you through checking in on that, particularly if you're at the group class coaching kind of level. So you need to get started with the programs and do. We're going to share with you this afternoon accountability data tracking tool that we created to help you on a daily basis do a check-in in the morning and a check-out at the end of the day with your kids, and check in with yourself on how's it going? How am I doing at things like keeping my learners' needs in mind? How am I remembering to think about my purpose statement? How am I doing on those goals? How's the schedule working for me? Just so to really check in with yourself to make sure you're being the most effective. And then you act on what you find out. And really, that check stage, it kind of takes back to that taking stock of what's working. So it's a cycle. And we might need to review, as you're checking, you might want to review all of these different steps. How did we do? So that's kind of where we're going with today, as well as the process we're teaching you. I want you to know what Path to Success stands for, because I came up with the idea of customized the path to success learning plans. And then I realized I wanted to make an acronym to help that actually means something, that communicates who we are. So a path to success learning plan with Wings to Soar is personalized for whatever it is the student needs. It's adaptive using the online programs that we're adjusting to the student as they go through the technology enhanced programs. You're still homeschooling. We're not taking over. We believe in partnering with the parent. We're coming alongside. At the elementary level, you are the primary teacher. We are your support team. At the middle school and high school level, developmentally, they are ready to start spreading their wings a little bit more. And I get parents all the time at that age saying, how did you do that? How did you get my kid to do that? And I'm like, I'm not mom. That's all it came down to. I'm not mom. And somebody outside of mom, they can respond to a little bit better. So we take over a little bit more of a lead role in any courses they're enrolled with us. But at the middle school and high school level, you still are involved. Like with any student, whether you're in a public school, private school, homeschooling, you need to make sure they're doing their work and staying on top of things. And you need to be staying in the loop of what's happening. You know, whereas our teachers, they're accountable to our teachers. We have group classes. We're doing the grading, providing feedback on assignments. You still need to be a part of the team. And so we are partners. I do have a few families who register themselves with their states as, who are full-time with us, who register themselves as private school students, who are full-time, particularly a few of my families here in Wisconsin. But it's still homeschool style. So that's the path. And then your two, you have our teachers. We have many, 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 many years of experience between us. I started my classroom teaching in 1998. Mrs. Greaves has been she did her student teaching back in, that was my freshman year, so it was like 1990. I don't know when Ms. Becky started, but she's also had a lot of experience. Erin's had a lot of experience. So you've got our experienced teachers with you, supporting you. So even if you're just doing some of the online programs for supplemental, I've made sure that when I included them in your package, you're not paying more than you would have paid if you went to them privately. But you also have our teacher team behind you. So if we're seeing problems, questions, struggle points, we have additional resources to lean into. For example, Ms. Becky has 2 additional libraries full of resources if we need to support you additionally in what your kids are learning in their reading skills in particular, and some of their writing skills as well. So if she's seeing that there's a need, or you're feeling a need, ask her what she has available. She'll figure it out, or she'll ask me and we'll help her learn it, because she's got a couple libraries of additional resources to draw upon to send you a PDF or something to help support you. Our programs are online, which means we are able to be, I think we've got 20 or so states represented right now, and 1 foreign country. We've got a missionary family over in Italy. So we are able to be supporting kids in a lot of places, and that's allowed us to extend our reach a lot. I believe we have 88 students enrolled this year right now. There's still a few more families finalizing, but the success. Our program is student-centered. The child is at the center, and we will reiterate that to you over and over and over. Your student needs to be the pace car. Your student needs to be the guide of what's happening next. So we focus on understanding much more so than fact memorization. In today's modern world, memorizing a bunch of facts really isn't what's important. And we have access, little font of all knowledge, our little smartphones at the tip of our fingers most of the time, to looking up anything we need to know, understanding how the concepts relate to each other, understanding the key points. That's far more important. But understanding is also about the student understanding themselves, because the more they can understand themselves and their needs as a learner, the more they can be an advocate for themselves. We have a variety of coaching built in to support you: the student success coaching, writing coaching, the math check-in coaching, our Miss Becky checking in on your programs, group coaching sessions, in addition to your one-to-one coaching. If you're a dyslexia intensive client, you also will have a monthly group coaching session there for helping with anything you've got questions. If you do CogMed with us in October, November, we'll also have some group coaching sessions with that. So we've built in a lot of coaching support so you can lean into our trained staff to help you. We want to develop more community. I have 2 Facebook groups I'm going to invite you to be a part of. If your student, any of your kids have dyslexia, I've got a Hope and Help for Dyslexic group. And the rest of you, homeschooling, and those of you who have dyslexia, homeschooling for outside the box learning are the 2 Facebook groups that I have that I'd like to encourage you to become a part of and be actively supporting one another in there. And as we become actually actively using it, I will be in there supporting as well. All of our programs, we seek to be engaging, so they're highly interactive with the students. Even if it's on the computer, it's far more engaging than, even if they're reading something, they're reading something, then they're responding. They're reading, doing, far more engaging than many offline options. We do want them to also be engaged in doing offline supplemental things too. And all of this is to help them achieve success, because we want them to see themselves as successful learners. We want to help them get the confidence and the skills they need to be successful, not just in school, but in life, so that they can soar to whatever they want to do. Now, I'm sure you saw the connection. The eagle in my story is the impetus for the eagle of Wings to Soar, and that's why we are Wings to Soar, is because that eagle that I was representing in that story had a message to share that was far bigger and far more than just teaching some curriculum. So thank you for participating in my overview today, Homeschooling for Outside the Box Learning.